So with us here in New York is the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who has been a very busy man as of late. And good morning to you, and thank you for your time here.
Thanks for being here.
Bill and Dana.
Let's start with the top line headline that's happening right now. 2 U.S. flag merchant ships have gone through the Hormuz Strait. What can you tell us about where we are today as we begin a new week in the blockade?
So let's level set here. I think the Iranians are starting to believe their own propaganda. And just to be clear, the leadership is hunkered down in bunkers all over the country. And I don't think they know what's going on. But what is going on is that they're reduced. Their navy is not a navy anymore. It's a band of pirates. They are trying to cut off international freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. is opening that up. This is a humanitarian effort. I can tell you, 2 weeks ago was IMF World Bank Week in Washington, and I had numerous countries come up to me, some of the poorest, some of the most vulnerable, and ask us to do this because it's not only energy that's in there, it's fertilizer, it's food transport, it's LPG for the more than the billion plus people in India use to cook. So we are saying the Iranians do not have control of the strait. We have absolute control of the strait. We have blockaded the ships going into or out of Iranian ports. Their economy is in free fall, and everyone says they have the high tolerance for pain. Well, their soldiers will not have a high tolerance for not getting paid.
Senator Reid believes that we are in a worse off economic position because of Iran. Let's watch him here. He was on This Week.
Strategically, we're in many respects, a much worse position. The Strait of Hormuz is blockaded. We're seeing incredible impacts economically in the United States in oil prices, fertilizer prices. The world itself is shuddering under some of these economic blows. So this has been a tactical demonstration of prowess, but has not achieved the strategic goals that the president announced.
How would you respond to Senator Reid?
I would say, unfortunately, Senator Reid, who had a distinguished military career, has now joined the surrender lobby. That this has been going on for 3 weeks, that the Iranian economy is in free fall. And to be clear here, this is an international humanitarian operation. We are opening the strait. The Iranians do not have control of the strait. And for him to say that, it's sad he believes the Iranian propaganda.
There was this report from the overnight that the United States Navy, in a measure of good faith, returned an Iranian vessel, not to Iran, but to the Pakistanis. I think there were at least a dozen Iranians on board, and it was seen as a sign of a good faith. Was Project Freedom done in coordination with Iran today?
Absolutely not. Project Freedom is something that's been in the works, and we would encourage the Iranians to let these more than 300 vessels leave. That they can fire on them. They're I think it's called the Mosquito Navy. Is being swatted. Numerous ships, maybe in double digits, have been destroyed. And the U.S., we are just firing if fired upon. We are not the provocateurs here. But if the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate.
So this is clearly a test of Iran as well as we speak, correct?
It is a test of Iran. But Bill, again, this is a ragtag band of pirates that the great U.S. military, we've destroyed their Air Force. We've destroyed all of their conventional Navy. Their battle lines along the strait have been destroyed. So we are saying, for the good of the international community, let these ships out. And we are expecting our international partners to engage in the same thing. Now would be a good time for our international partners to step up and put pressure on Iran.
And the economy, as you said, is in free fall in Iran as well, so that's another lever. Here in America, gas prices, AAA shows today, average of $4.44 a gallon. I know the president has said it will come down when the war is over. Here's the CEO of Chevron. He was on yesterday as well, talking about what's needed to get them down.
Well, what's really needed is for flow to resume through the Strait of Hormuz. You can't take 20% of the energy out of the system, and some of it's finding its way around to the Red Sea. But there's still a substantial amount of world energy supply that is not able to flow. And so that's the key thing, is to restore that flow. It allows markets to begin to rebuild these inventories. It allows us to get products to where they're needed and to alleviate some of the pressure. But that all will take time.
Would you say to the American consumer that help is on the way? You have it in mind.
Help is on the way as of today. The way to think about it is the market, because of the conflict around the strait, is in deficit about 10 million barrels a day, between 8 and 10 million barrels a day right now. So every crude carrier that goes through has about 2 million barrels. So 4 or 5 crude carriers a day coming through of the pent-up demand. We think there are more than 150, 200 crude carriers that can come out. So I think the market's going to be very well supplied. The other thing too is I am confident on the other side of this, the world's going to be awash in oil. The UAE has come out of OPEC. They're going to be pumping more. OPEC just announced they're going to be pumping more, and the U.S. has record crude deliveries. We are the #1 energy superpower in the world, and we have never delivered so much crude.
I imagine there was a lot of sticker shock this past weekend for Americans out and about with their own families and getting around. Is there a price that you've calculated at which we can no longer tolerate or stand? Like, or even if we were to go to $5 a gallon, is that like a psychological mark that we and you would rather stay away from?
Again, we are cognizant that this short-term blip up in prices is affecting the American people, but I am also confident on the other side of this, prices are going to come down very quickly. The conflict will end. If we look at the stock market, what does the stock market see right now? The stock market is looking through this. Corporate earnings are good, employment is good, and this gasoline, this temporary aberration, will be over in a matter of weeks or a month.
You are going to be going with the president to China, and actually Bill Hemmer will be there reporting for us as well. Here are a headline from the New York Times is China seeks an advantage with both Trump and Iran as war evolves. With Trump's visit to Beijing looming, China is pushing Iran to negotiate, even as its companies export material that could be used by Iran's military. I think our government's been quite transparent about our problems with China going into this summit. How does Iran complicate that? And I know there's a lot of things on the agenda, but certainly Iran will be one of them.
Sure. So the President Xi Jinping have discussed Iran on their phone calls. They've exchanged correspondence. My counterpart, the Vice Premier, and I have discussed it. And the New York Times story, like the New York Times, is always ridiculous. China always seeks an advantage. They seek an advantage in everything. They seek an advantage in the seating chart. So this isn't unusual. And let's see if China. Let's see them step up with some diplomacy and get the Iranians to open the strait.
You said that twice now. Do you expect Beijing and President Xi to do something with regard to Iran?
Again, all I will say is Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism, and China has been buying 90% of their energy, so they are funding the largest state sponsor of terrorism. But more importantly, Iran, the threat of attacks from Iran has closed the strait. We are reopening it, so I would urge the Chinese to join us in supporting this international operation. There are things moving through the UN that China and Russia have blocked. So, if they want to be good global citizens, join at the UN.
When this summit was originally scheduled, we were not at war with Iran, and now we are, and it was punted about a month's time. What would be your expectation from a summit in Beijing next week?
I think the expectation is it will be a chance for President Trump and Xi Jinping to exchange views in person. The strength of the relationship is the relationship between the two leaders. In Busan, South Korea, in October, we established a consensus, and the Vice Premier, He Feng, and I are charged with implementing that on the economic side. The Secretary Rubio and their Foreign Secretary, on the political side. So I think we would push forward the consensus from Korea and also keep the relationship stable. We've had great stability in the relationship, and again, that comes from the two leaders having great respect for each other.
If I could ask a last question, because I know you have a huge job. There's domestic issues, there's global issues, but one of the things you really care about is financial literacy. And as all of these young people look to graduate from high school or college in the next couple of weeks, we hear regularly that kids wish that they had had more information about how to get their financial literacy going early on. What would you advise kids, parents, students? What can the government do to try to help them on their way?
Well, the first thing I would advise all parents do is sign their children up for Trump accounts. If the children are born
why not?
During President Trump's account, there's a $1,000 seed investment. If not, you create an account and the family, friends, employers, foundations can contribute into those accounts. And I think the best way to get financial literacy in terms of investing is going to be by doing. This is going to be the greatest real-time experiment of all time. And then on the liability side of the balance sheet, we are working with a lot of the credit card companies to make sure that young people learn the responsible use of debt. And the other thing we're doing, Dana, is because a lot of people who are now seniors did not have a lot of financial education, we're working to make sure that our seniors, for their retirement, they are in good shape. And more importantly, there's some terrible statistic that 1 out of every 5 seniors has been the subject of a financial scam.
Yeah, in fact, we talk about scams across the network, but this show's very interested in it. It is shocking how bad that is. And an older person's entire life savings can be wiped out in an instant by a scam.
Yep. So we are also working. We had a group of seniors in the last week during Financial Literacy Month at the Treasury, and they were very engaged, whether it's with their accountants, with the IRS, or with their financial planners, in not falling for these terrible scams.
Thank you for your time today. There's a lot to get to. Hope to see you in Beijing as well. America's Newsroom will be there in China next week for the big summit. It's trade, it's AI, and now it is Iran as well. Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Good to see you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.